The deep space exploration vessel HSV Horizon cuts silently through the void, its quantum engines barely a whisper against the vast emptiness of space. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes fixed on the strange energy signature that had brought her ship to this remote sector of the galaxy. After 15 years of deep space exploration, she thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. "Commander, we're picking up some unusual readings," Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez called from his station. "The energy signature, it's not natural. It's too ordered, too precise." Chen nodded, her expression thoughtful. The Horizon had been tracking this mysterious signal for 3 weeks, following it deeper into unexplored space than any human vessel had ventured before. Analysis. It's definitely artificial, but it doesn't match any known technological signatures in our database. And there's something else. Rodriguez paused, his fingers dancing across his holographic interface. The signal's degrading. Whatever's generating it is failing. Before Chen could respond, the ship's AI, materialized as a translucent blue hologram beside her. "Commander, I've detected multiple objects emerging from fold space approximately 300,000 kilometers ahead. Their emergence pattern is erratic, suggesting damaged or malfunctioning drive systems." The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the space before them rippled and tore. Dozens of ships tumbled into normal space, their hulls scared and burning. They were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Organic curves blended seamlessly with crystalline structures, creating vessels that looked more like living creatures than spacecraft. "Life signs," Chen demanded, already moving toward her command chair. "Confirmed," Araya responded. "Multiple species detected, but their biosignatures are weak and unstable. These ships appear to be refugee vessels, Commander. They're running from something." As if in answer to Araya's observation, another, larger tear in space appeared. This time, the ships that emerged were different. Angular, predatory, their black hulls seeming to absorb the light of nearby stars. The refugee ships scattered in panic, but their damaged engines made escape impossible. "We're receiving a transmission from one of the refugee vessels," Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka announced. It's a distress call. Universal Translation Matrix is having trouble, but the basic meaning is clear. They're begging for help." Chen's jaw tightened as she watched the black ships close in on their prey. The Horizon was a research vessel, not a warship. They were alone out here, far from any potential reinforcements. Interfering could mean violating the prime directive of non-intervention in alien conflicts. It could mean war. But they were also human, and humanity had long ago decided what they stood for. "Battle stations," Chen ordered, her voice calm but firm. "Charge weapons and shields. Lieutenant Rodriguez, plot an intercept course. Officer Tanaka, broadcast on all frequencies. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the human science vessel Horizon. We are declaring these refugees under our protection. Any hostile action against them will be considered an act of war against humanity." The black ships hesitated, clearly not expecting to encounter resistance in this remote region of space. Chen used that moment of uncertainty to her advantage. "Araya. Analysis of their weapon systems. Advanced, Commander, but their shield frequencies are readable. Their technology appears to focus on overwhelming force rather than adaptation or innovation. Classic empire-building mentality." Chen allowed herself a small smile. If there was one thing humans excelled at, it was adaptation and innovation. The next few hours were a blur of tactical maneuvers and tense negotiations. The Horizon's smaller size and inferior firepower should have made it easy prey. But Chen and her crew used every trick in humanity's considerable arsenal. They exploited the quantum wake of their engines to confuse enemy targeting systems, used modified research probes as impromptu mines, and even managed to hack into one of the enemy ship's communication systems using principles derived from studying the refugee vessel's transmission patterns. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the black ships retreated, folding back into the depths of space with what Chen hoped was a new respect for human determination. Only then did they have time to properly communicate with the refugees. They called themselves the Aetheri, once a mighty civilization that had spanned thousands of worlds. Now they were refugees, fleeing from the Caraxian Empire that had systematically conquered or destroyed everything they had built. Why didn't other civilizations help you? Chen asked the Aetheri representative, a being named Zar-Il, whose crystalline form shifted colors as they spoke. They feared the Caraxians. Zar-El responded, their voice a melodious hum translated by Ariah. Our way was always peace, knowledge, creation. When the Caraxians began their expansion, many saw our fall as inevitable. Why risk Empire's wrath to save those who would not fight? Because it's right, Chen said simply. Because everyone deserves a chance to survive, to be free. She paused, studying the alien being before her. You said you valued knowledge and creation. Humanity values those things too. But we also know that sometimes you have to fight to protect them. Zar-El's crystalline form pulsed with a warm light. The Caraxians will return. They always do. They will not tolerate any challenge to their power. Then they'll have to learn, Chen replied. Because humanity doesn't abandon those who need help. Not now, not ever. She turned to her command crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt in her heart. Send word to Earth Command. Tell them we've made some new friends, and we're going to need everyone's help to protect them. As the Horizon escorted the Aetheri fleet toward human space, Chen couldn't help but feel that this was more than just a rescue mission. This was the beginning of something bigger. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not through conquest or submission, but by standing up for what they believed in. The Caraxians thought they had found easy prey. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, humanity's stubborn refusal to let injustice stand. And soon, very soon, they would learn just how dangerous that could be. The news of humanity's intervention spread through the galaxy like a shockwave. In the Grand Assembly Hall of Earth's United Space Command headquarters in Geneva, Commander Chen stood before the gathered representatives of humanity's colonies and member states. The holographic displays behind her showed the refugee fleet of the Aetheri, now safely harbored in orbit around Jupiter's moon Europa. The Caraxian Empire has issued an ultimatum, Admiral Santos announced to the assembled leaders, his weathered face grave. They demand we surrender the Aetheri refugees within 7 standard days, or they will consider it an act of war. The chamber erupted in heated debate. Earth had only recently unified its spacefaring efforts, and many feared they weren't ready for a conflict with a galactic empire. The Caraxians possessed technology far beyond human capabilities, and their empire spanned hundreds of star systems. The Aetheri are not warriors. Chen spoke up, her voice cutting through the chaos. But they are brilliant scientists and artists. In the 3 months since we granted them sanctuary, they've already helped us advance our quantum computing capabilities by decades. They want to share their knowledge with us, to help us grow. And in return, we risk extinction. A colonial representative challenged. The Caraxians have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than ours. We should negotiate while we still can. Chen activated a holographic display, showing the detailed scans of Caraxian technology they gathered during the initial confrontation. The Caraxians aren't invincible. Their technology is powerful, yes, but it's rigid, unchanging. They rely on brute force because they've never needed anything else. But humanity, we adapt, we innovate, and now we have allies who can help us do both better than ever. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, humanity made its choice. They would stand with the Aetheri, whatever the cost. The response to the Caraxian ultimatum was delivered by Chen herself, transmitted across the galaxy. Humanity rejects your demands. The Aetheri are under our protection. Any action against them will be met with the full force of human resistance. The price of that decision became apparent almost immediately. Other civilizations, fearing Kyrexian reprisal, began cutting trade ties with human colonies. Resources became scarce, and tension grew among the population. But something unexpected happened as well. In the research facilities on Europa, human and Aetheri scientists worked together day and night. The Aetheri's deep understanding of quantum mechanics combined with humanity's talent for practical application led to breakthroughs neither species could have achieved alone. Zar-El, now serving as the chief liaison between their people, worked closely with Chen and the human scientists. "Your people continue to surprise us," they said one day, their crystalline form shimmering with what Chen had learned to recognize as excitement. "Where others saw our knowledge as something to take by force, you seek to learn and grow together." "That's the thing about humans," Chen replied, watching as a team of engineers tested a new hybrid shield system. "We know we're not the strongest or the most advanced species out there, but we're really good at learning from others and finding new ways to solve problems." The Kyrexians made good on their threats. They began raids on outlying human colonies, testing their defenses and resolve. But each attack taught humanity more about their enemy's tactics and technology. And with each encounter, human ships and weapons evolved, incorporating Aetheri principles in ways the Kyrexians had never seen before. In the orbital shipyards around Mars, a new class of vessels took shape. They combined human intuition for combat with Aetheri quantum technology, creating ships that could adapt their tactical systems in real time. The first of these ships, the HSV Defiant, was given to Commander Chen. But the greatest change wasn't in technology, it was in perspective. As humans and Aetheri worked and lived together, they began to share more than just scientific knowledge. The Aetheri learned about human determination, about the strength that comes from facing adversity, and humans gained a deeper appreciation for the Aetheri's perspective on peace and creation. "We thought we were alone," Zar-El confided to Chen as they stood in the observation dome of the Europa facility, watching the massive form of Jupiter fill the sky. "When the Kyrexians came, and no one would help us, we believed the galaxy had no place for those who sought peace." Chen thought about Earth's long history of conflicts and the hard-learned lessons that had finally led to unity. Sometimes the strongest alliances are forged by standing together when everything seems darkest. Humanity knows what it's like to face overwhelming odds. But we also know that impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet. As if to punctuate her words, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Ari's hologram appeared before them, her expression urgent. "Commander, long-range sensors have detected a massive Kyrexian fleet entering the solar system. Initial count suggests over 300 vessels." Chen straightened, her expression hardening with resolve. This was it, the moment that would test humanity's commitment to their principles. "Alert all commands. Begin evacuation protocols for civilian populations, and get me the Defiant. It's time to show the Kyrexians exactly what humanity and the Aetheri can do together." As she headed for her ship, Chen couldn't help but think about the price of compassion. It wasn't measured in resources or trade agreements, but in the willingness to stand up for what was right, no matter the cost. Humanity had chosen to defend the defenseless, to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Now they would show the galaxy exactly what that choice meant. The HSV Defiant sailed through the darkness of space, its quantum-enhanced engines leaving trails of brilliant blue energy in its wake. Commander Chen watched as her crew, a mix of humans and Aetheri, worked in perfect synchronization. 6 months of preparation had transformed them from desperate defenders into a cohesive fighting force. "Quantum signature detected," announced Lieutenant Rodriguez, his hands dancing across the crystalline interface that the Aetheri had helped design. Kyrexian scout ship, trying to mask their presence in the asteroid field. Chen nodded to Zar-El, who now served as her tactical advisor. The Aetheri's crystalline form pulsed with determination as they interfaced directly with the ship's systems. "Their cloaking technology is impressive, but it cannot hide the quantum wake of their engines. Not from us. Not anymore. The Defiant's hybrid weapon system came online, combining human plasma technology with ethery quantum principles. The shot they fired wasn't particularly powerful by Galaxian standards, but it didn't need to be. The quantum-guided plasma burst phased through the scout ship shields as if they weren't there, disabling its engines with surgical precision. Direct hit, Rodriguez reported. Enemy vessel is disabled but intact. No casualties. This had been Chen's idea, showing mercy even in combat. It went against everything the Galaxians understood about warfare. And that was exactly the point. Every disabled ship, every captured crew member, every act of compassion sent a message. Humanity and the Aethery were fighting not just to survive, but to demonstrate a better way. Back at the Europa Research Facility, the fruits of human-Aethery cooperation were changing the face of science itself. Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's leading quantum physicist, worked alongside the Aethery scholar Val Wren, combining their different approaches to understanding the universe. "It's fascinating," Maya said, reviewing the latest test results. "Your people understood quantum entanglement on a level we never imagined, but you never thought to apply it the way we do. And our practical experiments are revealing aspects of quantum mechanics that your theoretical models predicted but couldn't confirm." Val Wren's crystalline form shifted through shades of blue and green, their equivalent of excited laughter. "This is why we always sought to share knowledge rather than hoard it. Together, we see things that neither could see alone." Their breakthrough came in understanding the Galaxians' greatest weakness, their rigid adherence to hierarchy and established patterns. The Empire's strength lay in its ability to overwhelm through superior firepower, but they had never faced an enemy that could adapt and evolve during battle itself. The Aethery shared their complete historical records, revealing centuries of Galaxian conquest. Each campaign followed the same pattern: overwhelming force, demands for surrender, systematic occupation. They had never needed to change their tactics because, until now, nothing had truly challenged them. But humanity brought something new to the equation, where the Aethery had sought to transcend conflict through pure knowledge. Humans understood that sometimes knowledge had to be defended. The combination of Aethery wisdom and human pragmatism created strategies the Galaxians had never encountered. In orbital shipyards across the solar system, the new hybrid technologies were being incorporated into the human fleet. Ships were equipped with quantum-enhanced sensors that could predict enemy movements before they happened. Shield systems learned and adapted to enemy weapons in real time. Communication networks used quantum entanglement to coordinate fleet movements instantly across vast distances. But perhaps the most powerful weapon was understanding itself. The Aethery's historical records revealed that the Galaxian Empire's strength was also its greatest weakness. Its absolute belief in its own superiority had left it unchanged for centuries. "They expect us to either submit or fight conventionally," Chen explained during a strategic briefing with Earth's military leadership. "Instead, we'll show them something they've never seen before, a civilization that can change faster than they can adapt to destroy it." The combined human-Aethery fleet grew stronger with each passing day, but they knew the real test was coming. The Galaxians wouldn't tolerate this challenge to their power for long. Intelligence suggested they were gathering their forces for a massive assault, intending to crush this uprising before it could inspire others. Chen stood in the Defiant's observation deck, watching Earth gleam like a jewel in the distance. Zar-El joined her, their crystalline form reflecting the planet's blue light. "Your world is beautiful," the Aethery said softly. "We have forgotten what it was like to have a home to defend." "It's your home too now," Chen replied. "That's something else about humans. We're pretty good at adopting people into our family." She turned to face her friend. "The Galaxians think they're coming to destroy us. Instead, they're going to learn what happens when you threaten a human's family." Throughout the solar system, the combined fleet continued its preparations. Human determination merged with Aethery knowledge, creating something entirely new. Ships moved in formation, crews trained together, and scientists worked tirelessly to refine their innovations. They knew the corrections were coming. But for the first time since the Empire began its expansion, they would face an enemy that could match their power with innovation, their certainty with adaptability, and their conquest with compassion. As Chen reviewed the latest fleet exercises, she couldn't help but smile. The Corrections had spent centuries teaching the galaxy to fear them. Now humanity and the Aethery would teach them something new. The power of standing together. Knowledge wasn't just about understanding the universe. It was about knowing what was worth fighting for, and how to fight in ways your enemy never expected. The Correction fleet emerged from fold space like a storm of black arrows, their warships blotting out the stars. Over 500 vessels, more than intelligence had predicted, arranged in their traditional combat formation. At their center, the massive dreadnought Immortal Dominion commanded by High Admiral Vexthor himself, architect of 100 conquered worlds. Commander Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the tactical display with steady eyes. Around Earth and its colonies, the combined human Aethery fleet waited in defensive positions. They were outnumbered nearly 3-1, but numbers weren't everything. Message from the Immortal Dominion, Lieutenant Tanaka announced. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Put them through, Chen ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing High Admiral Vexthor. His scaled face and ceremonial armor were exactly what the intelligence briefings had described, a being used to instant obedience. This is your final warning. Vexthor's translated voice boomed. Surrender the Aethery criminals and submit to Imperial authority, or we will reduce your worlds to ash. Chen allowed herself a small smile. High Admiral, we've studied your tactics, your history, your beliefs. You've conquered hundreds of worlds because they either fought you conventionally or didn't fight at all. But humanity, we do things differently. She cut the transmission with a gesture. All ships, execute Operation Prometheus. The human Aethery fleet burst into action, but not in any way the Corrections expected. Instead of meeting the Empire's forces in traditional combat, the Defenders' ships seemed to dissolve into chaos, breaking formation in ways that made no tactical sense. Vexthor watched with contempt as he ordered his fleet to advance. This was why inferior species needed the Empire's guidance. They couldn't even maintain basic battle formations. His contempt turned to confusion as his ship's targeting systems began to fail. The quantum wake from the Defenders' engines created interference patterns that shouldn't have been possible, making it nearly impossible to lock weapons. Impossible. Vexthor snarled as reports of malfunctions flooded in. Human ships were appearing and disappearing from sensors, their Aethery-enhanced quantum drives allowing them to exist in multiple probable locations simultaneously. The Defiant led the charge, its hybrid weapons slicing through Chiraxian shields as if they were tissue paper. Chen had studied every recorded Chiraxian battle, noting how they always followed the same patterns, used the same formations, never adapting because they'd never needed to. Multiple Chiraxian vessels disabled, Rodriguez reported with barely contained excitement. Their shield frequencies can't adapt to our quantum-phased weapons fast enough. But the Empire hadn't conquered half the galaxy through weakness. Vexthor was a veteran commander, and he quickly ordered his fleet to abandon their traditional formations. The sheer number of Chiraxian ships began to tell as they spread out, trying to overwhelm the Defenders through brute force. That's when Chen revealed humanity's second surprise. Launch the drones. Thousands of small, automated craft emerged from hidden positions in the asteroid belt. Based on Aethery quantum computers, but programmed with human ingenuity, they swarmed through the Chiraxian fleet. Instead of attacking, they began interfacing with the enemy ship's systems, using the Aethery's deep understanding of quantum mechanics to bypass security measures the Empire had thought unbreakable. Across the Chiraxian fleet, systems began to fail. Weapons powered down, engines stalled, and communication networks crashed. The mighty warships of the Empire found themselves being reduced to drifting hulks by devices smaller than shuttlecraft. Your Empire's greatest weakness, Chen transmitted to Vexthor, is believing that might alone makes right. You never considered that there might be power in working together, in combining different ways of thinking. The battle raged for hours as the Empire's forces struggled to adapt to tactics they'd never encountered. Human ships darted through their formation, using maneuvers that seemed to defy physics thanks to their Etheri-enhanced drives. Each Kyraxian adaptation was met with an immediate counter-adaptation as the quantum AI systems developed by the two allied species predicted and responded to every strategy. But even with their technological advantages, the human Aetheri fleet paid a price. Several ships were lost to concentrated Kyraxian fire, their crews giving their lives to protect their homes and their principles. Each loss strengthened the defenders' resolve. The turning point came when a squad of quantum-enhanced fighters, led by Lieutenant Rodriguez himself, managed to breach the Immortal Dominion's defenses. Their precisely targeted strikes weren't aimed at destroying the massive vessel, but at disabling its command and control systems. Status report. Vexthor demanded as his flagship's systems crashed around him. "My lord," his second-in-command reported, "we've lost communication with half the fleet. The enemy's quantum interference is spreading through our command network like a virus. We can't coordinate our forces." For the first time in his long career, Vexthor felt fear. These humans and their Aetheri allies weren't fighting to conquer or destroy. They were fighting to disable and contain. It was a type of warfare the Empire had never prepared for, never even imagined possible. "All ships fall back to secondary positions," he ordered, but fewer than half his remaining vessels could receive the command. The mighty Kyraxian fleet, terror of 1,000 worlds, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that refused to play by their rules. Chen watched from the Defiance Bridge as the Kyraxian fleet began to break apart. "They're retreating," Zar-El observed, their crystalline form pulsing with barely contained emotion. "For the first time in recorded history, the Empire retreats." "Not just retreating," Chen replied. "Learning. That's the difference between our way and theirs. Every ship we disabled instead of destroyed, every crew member we spared, they'll all take that knowledge back to the Empire. The knowledge that there's a better way than conquest." As the remaining Kyraxian ships flowed into fold space, Chen looked at her combined human and Aetheri crew. They had proven that innovation, cooperation, and compassion could overcome even the most overwhelming force. But she knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would return, perhaps with new tactics, new technologies. But when they did, they would find humanity and the Aetheri ready, continuing to grow, adapt, and work together. Because that was the greatest power of all. The power to change, to learn, and to stand united in the face of tyranny. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, Commander Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly on Luna, Earth's moon. The massive chamber, built with a combination of human and Aetheri architecture, housed representatives from dozens of civilizations that had previously lived under the shadow of the Kyraxian Empire. The defeat of the Empire's main fleet had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Worlds that had been silent for centuries now spoke openly of resistance, of change, of a new way forward. And at the center of it all stood the unlikely alliance of humanity and the Aetheri. "The Kyraxians have requested to address the Assembly," Araya announced, her holographic form now incorporating Aetheri crystalline patterns in her projection. Chen exchanged glances with Zar-El, who now served as the chief representative of their people. The Aetheri's crystalline form had evolved over the past year, incorporating hints of steel gray. A reflection, they said, of the strength they had learned from their human allies. The holographic projectors activated, and High Admiral Vexthor appeared before the Assembly. He looked different now, his ceremonial armor replaced with simpler guard, his bearing less rigid than before. "The Empire has spent centuries believing that strength came from dominance," Vexthor began, his voice carrying none of its former arrogance. We conquered because we could, because no one had shown us another way. But in defeat, we have learned more than we ever did in victory. Chen listened as the former enemy spoke of changes within the Empire. The disabled ships they had returned, the crews they had spared. Each had brought back stories not just of superior tactics and technology, but of mercy, of cooperation, of strength found in unity rather than domination. We request not just peace, Vexthor concluded, but the opportunity to learn. To join this new alliance as equals, not conquerors. The assembly erupted in discussion. Many were skeptical, remembering centuries of Caraxian oppression. But Chen stepped forward to address the gathered representatives. A year ago, humanity was unknown to most of you. We were considered primitive, isolated, too young to matter in galactic politics. But we knew something that the Empire had forgotten. That true strength comes not from standing above others, but from standing beside them. She gestured to the diverse gathering. Look around you. Humans working with Aetheri, former enemies learning to be allies, different species and civilizations sharing knowledge and resources. This is power greater than any empire. The power to grow, to change, to build something new together. The assembly voted to accept the Caraxian request, though under careful oversight. Ships that had once brought terror now carried diplomatic missions and scientific expeditions. The Empire's vast resources were gradually turned toward exploration and discovery rather than conquest. Later, in the observation dome of the HSV Defiant, Chen watched Earth rise over the lunar horizon. The ship had become a symbol of the new era, its hybrid design now being adapted for peaceful exploration. Did you ever imagine this outcome? Zar-El asked, joining her at the viewport. When you first found our refugee fleet, Chen shook her head. I just knew we had to help. Everything else came from all of us working together. She turned to her friend. The Caraxians thought they were the pinnacle of evolution, that change was weakness. We showed them that change is the greatest strength of all. The Defiant's quantum engines hummed to life as they prepared for their next mission. The ship's crew, once just humans and Aetheri, now included members of a dozen species, including several Caraxians eager to learn this new way of thinking. There are still challenges ahead, Chen mused, watching her diverse crew work together seamlessly. Some parts of the Empire resist change. Other threats may emerge, but we're ready for them. Because we stand together, Zar-El finished. The Defiant broke orbit, its quantum wake painting ribbons of light against the star-filled sky. In its wake, construction continued on the Galactic Assembly, a physical monument to the power of unity and cooperation. Across the galaxy, the story spread of how humanity, a young species from an unremarkable star, had changed the course of galactic history not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the simple yet powerful choice to help those in need. They had shown that compassion was not weakness, that adaptation was not surrender, and that the greatest victories came not from destroying your enemies, but from transforming them into friends. As the Defiant set course for deep space, Chen reviewed their mission briefing. There were reports of other civilizations in need of help, other worlds suffering under the weight of oppression or isolation. Some questioned whether humanity should involve itself in these distant conflicts. But Chen knew better. They had built something precious here, a new way of existing among the stars, and they would share it with anyone who sought a better path. New course laid in, Commander, Rodriguez announced from his station. Where to? Chen smiled, seeing the same anticipation in her crew's faces. Human, Aetheri, Caraxian, and others united in common purpose. Wherever we're needed, Lieutenant. That's what humanity does now. We help. We learn. We grow. Together. The Defiant leaked into quantum space, carrying with it the promise of a new dawn for the galaxy. One where strength was measured not in ships or weapons, but in the bonds between those who chose to stand together against the darkness.